All right. Whether you're gearing up to compete or you just want to follow the action, you have come to the right place. This is your all-access pass to the LSUIC 2026 Winter Debate. We're going to break down everything, and I mean everything you need to know. So let's dive right in. So right off the bat, the official theme this year is building a legacy through excellence. And that's not just some fancy slogan. It's a real challenge, right? It's saying this isn't just about scoring a win in one debate. It's about leaving a mark, setting a new bar for everyone who comes after you. That's the mindset you gotta have. And hey, speaking of aiming high, let's talk about what's on the line. The grand prize for the winning city, a cool 700 RMB. Not bad, right? A nice, tangible reward for all that hard work. So the big question is, how do you get your hands on it? Let's map out that journey. Okay, here's what we're gonna cover. We'll start with the basics of the winter debate, then talk about how to actually get in. After that, we'll look at the tournament structure itself, the gauntlet, and the all-important rules of engagement. Then how you actually win, and finally, what's waiting for you at the finish line. Sound good? Let's get started. So first things first, what is this whole thing really? Well, the LSUIC Presidential Inner-City Winter Debate is basically the ultimate intellectual showdown. It's where the sharpest minds from every city go head-to-head. It's not just about talking, it's a real test of your arguments, your logic, and how well you can work as a team. All right, so you're thinking your city has what it takes, right? But before you start dreaming about that legacy, you've got to make sure you can even get in the door. So let's talk about the eligibility criteria, because they are absolutely crucial. Okay. The rules here are super simple, but they are not flexible. Your city's team needs between 2 and 4 players. But here's the big one. Every single debater has to be a full registered member of LSUIC. That means your 2025-2026 dues have to be paid, and you can't have any leftover arrears from previous years. No exceptions. They do this to make sure everyone in the fight has some real skin in the game. So you've checked all the boxes, you're in. Now what? Now you face the gauntlet, and I mean it when I say gauntlet. This whole tournament is designed like a pressure cooker to weed out the competition and find the absolute best teams to throw into that final high-stakes showdown. So you're going to want to mark your calendars because this thing moves fast. It all kicks off with the qualification rounds, running from February 13th to the 18th. That's where the field gets whittled down to the top 8 cities. Just a few days later, you've got the semifinals, and then it all comes down to February 25th, one single intense day where we'll see both the third-place match and the grand final. Now, you might be wondering, how do they decide who debates who? Well, to keep things totally fair, it's all up to chance. Seriously, your matchup, the topic, even whether you argue pro or con, it's all decided in a live 3-step raffle. First, a spinning wheel pairs up the cities. Then, a topic is drawn for that matchup. And finally, one last draw decides who's pro and who's con. It's completely transparent, which means it's a level playing field for everyone. And hey, anything can happen. Okay, so that's the big picture of the tournament. But what happens when you're actually in a debate? What does that 1-hour match look like? Let's get into the nitty-gritty, the rules of engagement. So in every single debate, you've got 2 sides with totally different jobs. Think of it like this. The pro team is the builder. They have the burden of proof, which just means they have to build a strong case for the topic. The con team, they're the inspectors, or maybe the demolition crew. Their job is to find the cracks, poke holes in the pro team's arguments, and tear it down. They can also present their own arguments or even a totally different plan. It's a completely different strategic game depending on which side you're on. All right, this slide is huge. This is the playbook for every single match. It's a 1-hour strategic marathon, and it happens in stages. You start with your constructive speeches and the first cross-examination. That's where you build your foundation. Then you move into the rebuttal phase and the second cross-exam. This is where you start attacking your opponent's case. And finally, you've got the summary, the big grand cross-examination and the final focus. That's your closing argument, your last chance to convince the judges. Every single second is planned out, and trust me, you have to master this flow to win. And, of course, there are rules to keep things from going off the rails. First, no new arguments in the summary speeches. That's a big no-no. It keeps the goalposts from moving at the last second. All your evidence, it has to come from reliable sources. And it goes without saying, you gotta be professional, no improper language, and respect the clock. Oh, and here's a lifeline. Each team gets 3 minutes of flexible prep time. You can use it whenever you want, so use it wisely. So you've done it. You've followed the rules, you've given it your all, you've made your case. But how does a winner get picked? Well, it's not random. It all comes down to a panel of 5 judges, and they're looking for some very specific things.
Look, a flashy speech isn't going to cut it. The judges are scoring you on 5 key things. 1, your analysis. Do you actually understand the core issues? 2, your reasoning. Are your arguments logical? 3, your rebuttal. How well do you tear down the other side? 4, your evidence. Are you backing up your claims? And 5, your crossfire performance. Can you stay cool under pressure? You can't just be good at one of these. You have to be solid across the board to win.
The basic building block of scoring is something called a speaker point. Here's how it works. After a round, each judge gives every single debater their own personal score, somewhere between 20 and 30. So this isn't just about whether your team won or lost. It's about your individual performance, how well you did. So what do those points even mean? Well, think of it like this. A 20 is bad, like really bad. You usually only get that for some kind of major rule break. If you do a solid job, you're looking at a 24 to 26. That's average, and average is good. But the scores everyone is chasing, that's the 29 for an outstanding performance. And then there's the 30. A perfect 30 is legendary. It's for a mind-blowing, basically perfect round that judges almost never give out. Okay, picture this. It's the end of a brutal debate. The points are all in, the judges are done, and the result is a perfect tie. Talk about a nail-biter, right? So what happens now? The answer? Sudden death. A super high-stakes, 2-minute grand crossfire kicks off immediately. Each team gets just 30 seconds to ask a question and 30 seconds to answer it. That's it. It's a lightning-fast showdown. The team that can keep its cool and land those last few punches, they take the win. So when it's all said and done, a winner is declared. But this whole tournament is about more than just one victory, right? It's about earning recognition, it's about honor, and it goes right back to that theme. It's about building your legacy. So what does that legacy actually look like? Well, for starters, there's prize money for the top 3 cities, with that 700 RMB going to the champs. But honestly, it's bigger than the cash. The winners get formally recognized at the union's annual conference, which is a huge deal. And you know what? Even if you don't place, every single person who competes gets an official certificate to prove they stepped into the arena and gave it their all. So that's the whole shebang. We've gone through the rules, the format, what's at stake. The stage is officially set for a massive test of brains, hard work, and just staying cool under pressure. All that's left is the big question, the one that this whole thing is built around. How are you going to build your legacy?